Hello again. Some viewers might have noticed that the prevailing ideological view in Britain is that white people alone are capable of being racist, and that in the past, white Europeans were the only ones who behaved in uniquely cruel ways, oppressing and taking into slavery those with darker skins. The unspoken assumption is that only white people are this unpleasant, and that before the arrival of white Europeans, all the peoples of the world lived together in perfect harmony. There are two main sources of this completely mad perspective, one black and one white. I have talked before of the white idea which drives this mythic view of the human past. White Europeans, according to this idea, devised a strange and unnatural way of life, one involving cities and industrialisation. This made them into strange beings who lost touch with the natural world and created things like greed for money and the desire for material possessions. Those in Africa and the Americas, though, remained untainted by these emotions, at least until white people arrived and contaminated them with their warped ideas. This scheme was proposed, among others, by Voltaire, and it gives us the image of the noble savage who is content with what he has, gets on perfectly well, is in tune with nature, and doesn't experience cruelty, greed, or desire for other people's property. Left-wing white people often subscribe to this view, and it amounts to this, that until white people arrived in any part of the world, everything was like the Garden of Eden. So much for the white perspective, with which I think some viewers will already be familiar. The black point of view is similar but far more unpleasant and has a different origin. In the 1930s, a cult began in the United States which was devised by a petty criminal in Detroit. This became the Nation of Islam, sometimes known as the Black Muslims. Think Malcolm X and Cassius Clay, the boxer, who later changed his name to Muhammad Ali when he became mixed up with the cult. This group has had a great influence on many black people in America, and the ideas have also spread to this country. It is the views of this crank cult about white people which might cause some of us to raise our eyebrows. According to black Muslim theory, only black people are true humans. Thousands of years ago, a black scientist called Jacob began experimenting to create a new species, and he finally managed, through eugenics, to produce white people. White people are naturally vicious and evil, and not really human. They were prone to bestiality, and that's where monkeys and apes came from. They are the descendants of some of these degenerate white people. White people are intrinsically prone to lying, violence and brutality, and are often referred to as devils, as in white devils. As leader of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X said that white people were genetically inferior to black people, and that thoughtful white people know they are inferior to black people. Here is an extreme racist doctrine which is never talked about, but which is 10 times worse than anything you're likely to hear from the most right-wing white racist imaginable. Now, although there are not all that many black Muslims, some aspects of their belief system have proved very attractive to African Americans and also some black people in Britain, particularly those of Caribbean origin. This is the real reason why many black people think that only whites can be racist, and only white people operated the slave trade and so on. It is because white people are inherently wicked and debased and not properly human. In the description to this video, I give a link to a Wikipedia article about this. This is the kind of thing which Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X believed, along with all the other black Muslims. I've heard Caribbean youths in this country repeating this stuff about white devils and about the ice people and the sun people. I'm not talking now about members of the Nation of Islam, but just young people in Britain who have heard about the ideas and find them attractive. Just fancy white people being automatically wicked and cruel, not really human. They, the black people, are sun people, and we white folk are the ice people, with no human emotions or ability to be kind. I mention this for two reasons. First, to explain why only white people are supposedly guilty of cruelty and racism, something that many viewers must have noticed, picked up on when they've been reading about racism in the newspaper and so on. But secondly, to point out that racial prejudice and strange ideas about the differences between various ethnicities is not something limited to white people at all. It is every bit as common among black people of Caribbean origin in Britain as it is among white people.